Okay, if you're anything like me, then you were so excited when Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1, dropped on Netflix this last week. And I don't know about you, but I definitely binge watched those first 7 episodes in like a day. Um, I am so ready for Part 2, and I know that we've got to wait for a month or 2 months for it to come out. So this is a great time for me to tell you about the Stranger Things expanded universe. Um, One of my favorite things about being a Star Wars fan is that in between Star Wars movies and Star Wars TV shows, there are Star Wars books and comic books and junior readers and young adult novels and children's books. And I get to fill in the gaps of all these stories with all this other content. Stranger Things has some of that too. And so I think that if you're like me, you'll be excited to hear about this. So, this is the first video in a series about the Stranger Things expanded universe. And today, what I want to talk to you about, or at least in this video, what I want to talk to you about is the adult novels. Before I get into the adult novels, I want to start by talking to you about this book right here, which is called Worlds Turned Upside Down. Now, this book is really more of like a fan book. Let me take a second and just talk to you about the presentation of this. This is designed to look like it came from like a used bookstore. It's got this cellophane wrapping, and it's got a sticker on it that says fair. It says Melvin's General Store right there on it. There's in the design some wear and tear of the cover, which is under here. So there's like an actual paper dust jacket that's kind of torn up purposefully. And then there's the actual hardcover book. And it's all wrapped up nice and neat. So the presentation of this is really fantastic. But inside this book, what you get is a lot of information, a lot of pictures, a lot of behind the scenes of the first, at least the first season, maybe the first couple seasons of Stranger Things. So if you're a fan of Stranger Things, there are probably 100 different books out there, but this is the one to pick up. Worlds Turned Upside Down. This is the official sort of behind the scenes book. So I definitely wanted to start by talking about that, which is probably geared more towards the adult audience, but as well can be enjoyed by all people. So this was the first Stranger Things adult novel that came out, and this is called Suspicious Minds, and this is by Gwenda Bond. On the front cover here, it says, "Before the Demogorgon, before the Mind Flayer, terror wore a human face." And so you can see, if you can see the cover very well there, then you know who that is. By the way, on the back it says, "Breathe, Sunflower, Rainbow." So the plot of this story, I'm just going to read the inside dust jacket to kind of give you an idea. It says, "A mysterious lab, a sinister scientist, a secret history. If you think you know the truth behind Eleven's mother, prepare to have your mind turned upside down in this thrilling prequel to the hit show Stranger Things." In the summer of 1969, and the shock of conflict, it's the summer of 1969, and the shock of conflict reverberates through the youth of America, both at home and abroad. As a student at a quiet college campus in the heartland of Indiana, Terry Ives couldn't be further from the front lines of Vietnam, or the incendiary protests in Washington. But the world is changing, and Terry isn't content to watch from the sidelines. When word gets around about an important government experiment in the small town of Hawkins, she signs on as a test subject for the project codenamed MK Ultra. Unmarked vans, a remote lab deep in the woods, mind-altering substances administered by tight-lipped researchers, and a mystery the young and restless Terry is determined to uncover. But behind the walls of Hawkins National Laboratory and the piercing gaze of its director, Dr. Martin Brenner, lurks a conspiracy greater than Terry could have ever imagined. To face it, she'll need the help of her fellow test subjects, including one so mysterious the world doesn't know she exists yet. A young girl with unexplainable superhuman powers and a number instead of a name, 008. Amid the rising tensions of the new decade, Terry Ives and Martin Brenner have begun a different kind of war, one where the human mind is the battlefield. So you can see right away that this is a prequel to those books and to the Stranger Things series. We get some background on Dr. Martin Brenner, and we get some background on Eleven's real biological mother. So definitely a book you want to pick up if you want to hear more of that background story. And by the way, Gwenda Bond is an author who I believe she wrote the book on Phasma in the Star Wars universe. So she has written before in sort of these in-universe type books. So she is definitely no stranger to that. And the other adult novel, and there is only one other adult novel at this time that ties into the Stranger Things universe, is this one, which is called Darkness on the Edge of Town by Adam Christopher. Now, right off the bat, you can see that we've got Hopper and we've got 11. It says an official Stranger Things novel, and it says lights out in the city that never sleeps. And we've got this New York background, right? So on the back of the book, we've got a Polaroid. It says New York 77. And it says, before I was chief of Hawkins Police, I used to be a cop in New York City, a detective working homicide. 11 mouthed the unfamiliar word. Ah, yes, said Hopper. Homicide means murder. Elle's eyes went wide. Hopper sighed, wondering if he really had just opened Pandora's box. And the summer of 1977, something very strange happened. And here's what the inside dust jacket says about this book. Chief Jim Hopper reveals long-awaited secrets to 11 about his old life as a police detective in New York City, confronting his past before the events of the hit show Stranger Things. Christmas, Hawkins, 1984. All Chief Jim Hopper wants is to enjoy a quiet first Christmas with 11, but his adopted daughter has other plans. Over Hopper's protest, she pulls a checkerboard box marked New York out of the basement, and the tough questions begin. Why did Hopper leave Hawkins all those years ago? What does Vietnam mean? And why has he never talked about New York? Although he'd rather face a horde of demogorgons than talk about his own past, Hopper knows that he can't deny the truth any longer. And so begins the story of the incident in New York, the last big case before something changed. Summer, New York City, 1977. Hopper starting over after returning home from Vietnam. A young daughter, a caring wife, and a new beat as an NYPD detective make it easy to slip back into life as a civilian. But after shadowy federal agents suddenly show up and seize the files about a series of brutal, unsolved murders, Hopper takes matter into his own hands, risking everything to discover the truth. Soon Hopper is undercover among New York's notorious street gangs, but just as he's about to crack the case, a blackout rolls across the boroughs, plunging Hopper into a darkness deeper than he's faced before. So in many ways, this is a historical fiction novel dealing with an actual blackout that occurred in New York. But it's also a detective novel, mystery, crime. There's a serial killer. To be honest, it's not as supernatural as most of Stranger Things, but it will still make you happy to get some background information on Hopper. And a lot of the story is told in between brief discussions between Eleven and Hopper, which you can remember if you've watched the series, when Eleven was living with Hopper and kind of their life together there. So this is a phenomenal book that I highly, highly recommend. And if you're a Stranger Things fan, you should definitely pick all of these up. So I hope that you, if you love Stranger Things, that you go and pick it up.